or agree, Garrison.
We're after the game. We're ready for it. It was a night, man. You would have loved to talk after this game, right?
No, I wouldn't have. I was a little under the weather, a little hoarse. So just to recap that game, I thought coaches and players did a good job of executing. We played 4 quarters. The things that we emphasized throughout the week, I thought they did a good job of taking the coaching and preparing the way that we need to prepare and execute. And then some of the things that we needed to get cleaned up in a hurry, we cleaned up. Looking forward to the challenge this week on the road, divisional game. They got a lot of good players over there, and our guys would be ready to roll.
Did that game plan last week start with Jefferson and what the plan was going to be for him?
Yeah, you always look at, when you set up a game plan, you always look at how they're generating points, and he was a major reason, that they're generating points, not just this year, but last year as well. And I know it's a new system and coaching staff, but he's a really good player. So we always take into account that, we don't allow their best players to beat us. So I thought our guys did a good job, the coaches did a good job with how we constructed some things. And when guys were on them, they fully understood where the strength and the stress was of the call, and had a good day, made some plays.
How does having the cornerback play you're getting right now from Slay, Bradbury, and Avante help you as a play caller kind of open up everything?
Yeah, I mean, the entire back end, is not just the corners, the nickel, the safeties, the linebackers, all those guys fit in together. And what you see is typically what sometimes people don't realize is really good cornerback play probably starts with the front. And that's what you saw in this game. When the front's rushing and winning at a high level like they were, it just makes the quarterback uncomfortable. And sometimes, he's got to throw it before he wants to throw it, or, the timing might be knocked off a little bit. But, those all 11 are tied together. And our guys understand that and understand that here's how these calls need to be played so we can, win the down. So, but I thought all our coverage players in the back end had a pretty good game.
Jonathan, you mentioned making the quarterback throw before he wants to. Wentz might be a guy who would hold on to it a little bit longer. How does that change the dynamic?
Yeah, I mean, anytime we look at a game plan and set it up, we look what goes into that of the O-line play, the quarterback play, the receivers, the routes, the schematics of it, the people of it. So, and then we use our schematics and people and all that goes into defending them. So hopefully we put together a good game plan and we can go out and execute it.
Why was your blitzing so effective?
I think, the good question. I would say that I don't know if it was more effective. I think that, we were able to deploy some of them in the game because the situations came up, and, we decided when we put the game plan together, this is when we want to use some of these calls. And a lot of times those calls are up in a game, but they don't, come to fruition, so to speak. So I thought the guys did a good job when those were called. Some of those pressures were called. They executed them. And the rush got there, and we held up in coverage.
Jonathan, what were the conversations with Slay like during last week? What do you notice about him when a big-time receiver is coming up on the schedule?
That's what I love about Slay. He's the same every week. It doesn't matter if he's covering Justin Jefferson or if he's lining up covering me. He takes the same approach weekly. And, he's really not – what I love about him is he's a premier corner, but he's selfless. He's always about the team first. What do you need me to do to help the team win? And he knows it's not about him. And the way he prepares throughout the week, the way he studies, watches tape with those guys. I mean, I really use the term for him. He's selfless, and it's a good thing. That's why he's a captain, you guys. You guys know that. Everyone sees on game day what he does, but people don't see what he does during the week. And it's a really good asset for our defense.
JG, with the pressure, JG, is it? You mentioned situation specific. Is that normal? Obviously, every week's a little bit different. But would you say, the same amount of blitzes are in each week, but it depends on the situation.
Yeah, that's a very well said, John. That's correct.
Pledge, just to follow up real quick, Pledge said nothing changed from your framework from week to week. Is that what he's discussing when it's the scheme versus the little bit of changes from week to week?
Yeah, our guys, that's we always talk about being adaptable, and what that means is, week to week you have to defend people differently. Whether it's what you're doing schematically, how we set up the game plan for me to call it when we talk to our guys, hey, this is how I'm going to call the game. These are when these calls are going to come up, if we get them to these certain situations, first, second, third down, red zone, 2-minute, everything within a game that goes on. And then it basically comes down to, like, when we practice those things, do we execute them, practice them? Do the guys feel comfortable with them? Are we accentuating our matchups? And does it ultimately is the best thing to do versus who we're defending? And from there, then we let it rip. So, yes, I would say yes to your question.
JG, Nick talked yesterday about your ability to block out noise during the week. Does that come easy for you? Is it a challenge? What was the week like for you?
Good question. I mean, it's funny, yeah. Like if you, when you grow up and if you listen to outside noise and you let it affect you, good and bad, it's a recipe for disaster. You've heard me talk about that. And so we preach that to our players, and we wear it on our sleeves as well. So I don't feel any more pressure from anyone outside of this building. The most pressure I put on myself is because of myself. And that's how I've been since I was a kid. So I don't, it's, this is a new week, and that's the pressure I have on myself is the same that was, last year, week 1, week 2, it really, training camp, it really doesn't matter to me.
Without giving away the game plan, what do you think the keys are to making things difficult for Carson Wentz?
That would be probably giving away the game plan a little bit, but I would think that, we always try to affect the quarterback pre and post snap. And then it comes down to us being in the right positions and playing the coverages the right way and executing and when we deploy different things to be able to be in the right spots and win our one-on-one matchups.
I guess to follow up on that, how would you assess his play this season?
He's lighting it up right now. I mean, it's a big-time challenge. He's got a big arm. He can make off-schedule plays. He's got really good skill guys. And their O-line does a good job of when they need to protect him, they protect him. So we got a big-time challenge.
Coverage was the most pass breakups during your time here, and significantly more than the average. What contributed to you guys playing more aggressive on the ball in coverage?
Probably just a little bit of, some of those calls are, they allow for certain things to happen within the call. And then, when we, the DB coaches, the linebacker coach did a good job of, hey, these certain calls we want to get tighter at times because of A, B, and C. And that's not always like that throughout a week. And I think our guys saw that the best way to play that team was how we played them. And they went out and executed. So it's kudos really to the players, guys.
How do you feel about the format? You said that it was stopping Justin Jefferson, who's obviously, he's their main point generator. When you look at Washington, though, it might not be as obvious. I mean, who are some of those guys that you're looking at? Yeah,
I mean, they're 3 skill guys, Samuel, Dotson, and Terry. They're good players. The tight end's a good player. They got 2 good backs. We talked about the quarterback. So, we just got to be on it when – certain coverages are strong in some aspects and they're weaker in other aspects. We got to that's what we always say, you make them find the weak spots of those coverages. So, and our guys know the weaks and the weaknesses and the strengths of calls. So, and then, you just got to kind of go through it and see what's working, what we need to adjust, how they're trying to attack us. That's some of the in-game adjustments that we make. And it's cool for me because we have a really smart room and they can get to different things, in game, and that's what we do a lot of the time.
What's been your assessment of the 4-man rush so far?
I think we're winning at a high rate. I think, if we keep winning at a high rate, the production will come. You saw a couple sacks, the strip sack by Fletch, Sweaty ended the game. A couple of those picks were 4-man rushes. Some guys won, they hit the quarterback. So I like where we're at right now, and that's another part of our game, just like every part of our game, that we're always going to try to continually improve on and make it better.
The aggressiveness we saw on some of the calls on Monday, obviously opponent and situation dictate a lot of that. But can there be carryover against other opponents that you might not have done it before against?
Yeah, I mean, there's carryover to everything we do, as far as, calls. Like, we're not changing the menu week to week. We pick and choose from different buckets, but, we always set it up. The game plan's always set up. It kind of sounds like a broken record. It's always set up with our people in mind versus their people, our scheme in mind versus their scheme, and then our scheme versus their people and our people versus their scheme. It won't change.
With Chauncey, what are the job responsibilities that have been relatively seamless for him, and what are the ones that maybe still need to take a little bit of time?
Yeah, I mean, he's learning. I think some of he's doing a good job in the box, and in the pass game he's doing a good job. I know he wants a couple plays back, but what I'm very pleased with Chauncey is the first thing of a safety is reliability. You have to be in the right spot, and I thought he took a big jump from week 1 to week 2. He understands he's going to keep growing in that role, as far as this is where you have to be, these are the calls you have to make, and then from there, just go play free. You don't want him thinking a lot, and he's very intelligent, very smart, but what I mean by that is it comes natural, and he doesn't have to think about that things, and he can just unleash his talent and go make a bunch of plays for us. So excited where Chauncey is, and I think he's going to continue to get better.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.